Chapter 8 is called Supporting Others Through Loss. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's the longest chapter in the book. It is power packed. There are 2 expert therapists in this chapter that share their thoughts, as well as, I believe, 8, maybe 9 friends, colleagues, even family members that also share their story. So you're really going to get a lot out of chapter 8. And supporting others through loss is really this recognition that it's really not about us, even when we are the ones that are experiencing the loss. But how do we really show other people that we are supporting them from a space of empathy by being what they need? And so I'll share a few excerpts from this chapter of the book. I have so many favorites, but one of the ones that I'm already getting great feedback around, I was about to say it's probably one of the favorite sections. And yeah, I think I would agree with that. So I have in this chapter a list of what to say and what not to say, right? So when people are like, oh my gosh, I have a family member or a friend that, lost someone or lost a job or whatever the grief or loss may be, I don't know what to say. I give a very practical guide. So I'll share just a few with you. So what to say? Well, one, listen. Right? Let's start there. Listen more than you speak. Acknowledge the loss, right? So trying to ignore it is like ignoring them, especially when it's been a deep loss. So you don't have to talk around the elephant in the room. And I share some practical ways to do that. For example, John shared with me that your mom died. I can't imagine how you're feeling. Right? So that display of empathy to express care and concern. And then instead of let me know if, right? We often say that, let me know if I can help out or let me know what you need. When someone is experiencing a deep loss, the last thing that they're thinking about is what they need to share, with us about how we can help them. Right? But instead of that, and this really depends on the relationship, and I talk about this in the book, but perhaps saying something like, hey, I'm going to the grocery store this evening. What can I bring you from there? I'm stopping by to pick my family up dinner and I'm placing an order for you too. What would you like? Right? So going ahead and just making that offer. And then I also list some things not to say. At least is at the top of the list. Do not minimize how the person is feeling by trying to make them see the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever we think we're doing when we do that, right? So just remove at least from your vocabulary. Religious platitudes are often also devoid of empathy and emotional intelligence, depending on how we use them. So just being mindful about how we use the word to encourage people, when we use the word to encourage people, becomes so important. And then don't compare your grief. Don't compare your grief or something that you've experienced with what someone is sharing of you. So just a few things in that chapter. And then last but not least that I'll share with you here is a little insider behind the scenes of chapter 8. I share about our signature framework and curriculum at Career Thrivers called the Awareness and Actions of Allies. And I think this becomes so critical because when we think about supporting others, right, who are showing up authentically and navigating resilience from a place of purpose, part of that is also, right, we talk about identity and we've talked about it in the other chapters, is also recognizing how we can be a good ally for people. An ally is recognized by a community as someone who is engaged in intentional learning and taking consistent action to advance the inclusion and equity of that community. We're not talking about supporters here. We're talking about allies. It is different. And so leaders are responsible for moving from passive communication and apologies to action-focused and productive change, right? And this is specifically for those that are in the workplace. So if you are a non-BIPOC professional, BIPOC is an acronym for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. So if you are a white person, okay, just to be all the way clear, and you are an ally for the BIPOC community, then chapter 8 is going to give you some really practical ways for you to take consistent action along that path. So I'm excited for you to get your hands on your copy of Thrive Through It. Chapter 8 is power packed, and it's going to give you some practical ways that you can support others through loss. Check out BrittanyNcole.com to pick up your copy. And I am so thrilled that you are part of this community as we prioritize wellness in our resilience.